So for the first part of the assignment, the oil maceration I made was with garlic, Allium sativum. So I used about 8 pieces, and for the olive oil, I used about 300 milliliters. The condition I was focusing on for this was in particular yeast infections and athlete's foot. So these are fungal infections. And basically, yeast infections can be caused by the fungus Candida albicans, which can occur when there is an imbalance in the pH system. So what happens is the overgrowth of the Candida bacteria starts to grow, and garlic, being an all-natural antifungal, contains a compound called allicin, which will basically inhibit the growth of that fungi and bacteria and promote the good bacteria's growth. The oil of choice for this maceration was olive oil. Due to its rich vitamins like A, E, and K, it'll nourish the irritated and affected area. And the properties in this oil are also good to help relieve chest colds, cuts, and scrapes due to the garlic's antibacterial and antimicrobial qualities. So for step 2, the inhalation I made for myself was targeted towards my current issues with sinusitis. So I actually used about 1.5 tablespoons of dry thyme, 1.5 tablespoons of lavender bud, and then I put about 1 to 2 drops of eucalyptus oil into a bowl of steaming water. You can use about 500 milliliters of water depending on the bowl size. So essentially what happens is the thyme contains thymol, which is basically going to be a mucus expelling expectorant. So it thins out the mucus, which makes it easier to expel by relaxing the nasal passage and draining the excess mucus into the bowl, which makes it easier to breathe, which is very helpful when you have sinusitis because you have a lot of congestion. Which can cause pressure headaches and all kinds of other issues. So the eucalyptus oil has cineol, which will help speed up the healing of the sinusitis, and the lavender basically calms and soothes any irritation or inflammation or swelling that's occurring. So this is good for people with, of course, sinusitis like I have, for people with pet or pollen allergies, colds, or nasal congestion. Or even if you have problems snoring, this will basically relieve and soothe the nasal passage so you can breathe easier in your sleeping, making you snore less. The additional recommended instructions I would have for anyone trying this would be that if you plan on draining your nasal passage in the same bowl, you can strain the herbs before and then add the oil and then use the towel and do the process so that you don't clog your drain with the herbs when you dump it later. So for step 3, I turned this maceration into a salve. The only thing I did different was once I took it off the stove, I added the tea tree oil to add more antifungal properties and benefits to it. I just made sure I added the oils after I took it off the stove to prevent the volatile oils from evaporating. And as you can see, the salve is very moisturizing, and it'll help to soothe any irritated areas affected by the yeast infection.